Of course, it all starts in Wisconsin.
Yes, it does. Day 2 of the Republican National Convention is about to get underway in Milwaukee. In just about an hour after officially nominating former President Trump for a third time yesterday, the Republican National Convention will take the primetime spotlight once again tonight. These are live pictures from the Fiserv Forum in Milwaukee, where the events are scheduled to kick off in just under an hour, 6 o'clock tonight. The party focusing on crime and the border, with the theme of the evening being Make America Safe once again. Several big names are set to speak, including Trump's presidential candidate rivals, Ron DeSantis, Nikki Haley, and Vivek Ramaswamy.
Well, tonight we have team coverage for you of the historic events that are developing in our nation. Our 3 News political reporter Lena Lai is standing by with what the recent assassination attempt on former President Trump could mean for the race for the White House. But first, Matt Rascone leads off our coverage with reaction on Trump's vice presidential pick, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance. Matt?
Yeah, Betsy, it's a big move that has thrust the junior senator into the spotlight and the state of Ohio. And today we got more reaction to that move from both people and politicians in the state. Senator Vance has been all smiles since the news broke at the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee. The RNC and the new title as former President Trump's running mate are a long way from Middletown, Ohio, where Vance wrote about growing up in a family struggling with drug addiction and poverty.
Totally ecstatic. This is a historical milestone for Middletown. And for a political outsider to come in, it's amazing for our country.
Middletown struggles, as everyone knows, and so I think this only helps Middletown. It helps the people there, and I think he will have his heart for them as he serves as vice president.
I welcomed him to the Senate. I've worked with him on East Palestine. I'll continue to work with him for as long as he's in the Senate, and I'm not going to play pundit here and say things about him.
That, of course, is fellow Senator Sherrod Brown. He declined to give his direct take on Vance's new campaign for vice president, but in an email to voters, he said the move means more. Former President Trump is focused on Ohio, and the GOP wants to flip his seat in the Senate. Now we'll hear more from Senator Brown at 6. And we also talked to Ohio Congressman Max Miller about why he thinks Vance will elevate the ticket now for the White House. Betsy?
Certainly a lot of Ohioans are going to be keeping a very close eye on all of this. All right, yep. Matt Rascone, thank you so much. Yep. All right, so if Trump wins and J.D. Vance does indeed become vice president, his current Senate seat would open up. In that case, Ohio Governor Mike DeWine would appoint a replacement. There would then be a special general election in November of 2026. If the replacement loses, the new senator would take office in December of that year. Meanwhile, Channel 3 will cover night 2 of the Republican National Convention. Stay with NBC News for special coverage at 10 tonight.
When I say that something like this cannot happen, we are speaking of a failure.
That was Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas acknowledging mistakes were made in Butler, Pennsylvania. And now the director of the Secret Service is speaking out after the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump. In an interview earlier today on Good Morning America, Kimberly Cheadle says, quote, "The buck stops with me." That's after the Secret Service received threats that Iran wanted to make an attempt on Trump's life, which prompted increased security before Saturday's attack. There is no indication the plot was related to the assassination attempt. Meanwhile, we're learning new details about the shooter, including possible missed opportunities to stop him. NBC News reports 20-year-old Thomas Crooks was spotted before he got on the roof. Rally-goers noticed him behaving strangely near the metal detectors, this according to officials there. They alerted police, who began following Crooks. The officers then notified Secret Service, but it was not clear when Secret Service was made aware. The head of the Secret Service says local police were actually stationed inside the same building which he scaled, but they were unable to stop him.
As for the other victims, Corey Comparator, a volunteer firefighter and father of 2, died during the attempted assassination. The 2 other men who were hurt in the shooting are still in the hospital. One of those men, David Dutch, is a Marine. He had 2 surgeries after being shot in the liver and the chest.
The sad reality is political violence in the United States is nothing new.
Yeah, 3 News political reporter Lena Lai joins us now with a look back through history and the potential impact that the Trump shooting could have on the November election that's upcoming.
Yeah, definitely an impact. We just don't know how just yet. You know, since the country's founding, 4 U.S. presidents and 1 candidate have been assassinated, beginning with Abraham Lincoln in 1865, and then most recently, John F. Kennedy in 1963, then his brother, Robert F. Kennedy, 5 years later. Meanwhile, there have now been 8 attempts on U.S. presidents or candidates: Theodore Roosevelt, Franklin Roosevelt, candidate George Wallace, and then attempts on Gerald Ford, Ronald Reagan, George W. Bush, and now Donald Trump. But what impact could the attack on Trump have on the November election? I spoke to 2 political science professors who weighed in.
Argued that the Biden campaign will have a challenge because you can no longer attack Trump, on his patriotism or his commitment to the cause because, he was shot at.
I think in the short term, the immediate short term, there's certainly going to be a small bump for President Trump in the polls. It's the rally around the flag effect.
That is something that happens in politics. So coming up at 6, how long does this rally around the flag effect last on average, historically speaking? Also, an interesting parallel that many are drawing with the assassination attempt on former President Trump and another former president who was shot while also trying to make a comeback into office. I don't know if you're any good at history, as a history student, maybe?
Slightly before my time.
Okay, well maybe you'll learn something today.
I will, for sure. It's been fascinating, Lena, to watch the last couple of days how careful politicians on both sides of the political fence are in answering questions about their opponents.
Sure.
And I think that is progress. I know both sides, President Trump and former President Trump and President Biden, have said they want to lower the temperature on the political rhetoric. I've seen it. I think we just saw it here shortly, just a few minutes ago, when there was an opportunity for a Democrat to maybe say something not so nice about a Republican, and he passed.
But we have 4 months, a little less than 4 months to the November election.
Yeah.
How long is it going to last, right? Okay.
How long is the honeymoon?
Well, and now maybe instead of the attack ads back and forth, it becomes more policy driven, which a lot of voters have been asking for that to come out more.
I think citizens win if the debates are policy centered, not personality. Thank you.
Thanks, Lena.